8B in Dickson, Tennessee, serving Dickson County.
Turn it up.
Streaming online at WDKN.com.
I love listening to it over and over. I love it.
This is 101.5 The One and WDKN, Dixon's country music home.
You're listening to The Old Timer Show, presented by RFC Broadband on Dixon's only live and local station, 101.5 The One and WDKN. Now, here's your host.
Good morning, Dickson County. Today is Saturday, March the 19th. We are live here in downtown Dickson. We got a big celebration going on in downtown on Main Street. It's the St. Patrick's Day Festival. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and I was just kind of checking it out when I pulled in this morning, and they're already out there setting up, and there's people walking by the studio here. So make plans to be in downtown today. They've done a lot of planning. Done a lot of things so that we can have a good time down here, and so I hope to see everybody. I'll be down there later today, so come on down and say hi. Well, we're live in the studio this morning. I'm really excited about the program this morning. I've got a good friend and a wonderful guest here this morning, and a lot of people have been talking about this episode because Miss Eve Hamilton is here this morning. How you doing?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
So longtime Dickson County Cougars coach, and that's kind of how I met you a while back. And before we get into like your basketball career and all these wonderful students that you've taught and all the great things you've done at Dickson County High School, we always like to start the program by giving you a chance to talk to the listeners and kind of tell them about, who you are. Some people may not know, most people do, but some may not know who you are. So let's tell them just a little bit about your early life and where you came from and all those good things.
Okay. I'm a Dickson County native, and I was born in Nashville, and my parents were James and Mary Elizabeth, or Diddy Kelly, and I have one older brother, Paget, and, just small town, nothing really exciting other than just a great family, that I came from. And what what I miss is back in the days, all your cousins, your aunts and uncles, your grandparents were probably the glue that held everything together, and got together a whole lot more than we do now, and to me that's sad. But just had a great life growing up. I went to Oakmont Elementary, 1 through 5 grades, and then when I got to Dickson Elementary, I couldn't wait to play basketball, and it was 6 through 8 at that time. I think they did have 2 fifth grade classes over there, but you couldn't play as a 6th grader. And to me, back then, basketball was the most important thing in my life. In the 5th grade, we had to play a tonette. Mr. Johnson came over to our class, and our whole class, I guess he was trying to recruit too, and I had to play a tonette, and I liked that. But when I got to the end of the 5th grade year, I wanted to play basketball. You couldn't do both back then. You couldn't be in the band and you couldn't, do basketball. So I remember him calling my mom and asking me, well, we'll buy her an instrument, or we have instruments. That's no problem. And I remember her telling him, well, she just wants to play basketball. So appreciate your call. But anyway, couldn't play as a 6th grader, but as a 7th grader, I started on the Dickson Elementary Bees team. Coach Larry Law was our coach. And, I don't remember a whole lot about just having fun and just playing. And as an 8th grader, I do remember that championship game. Burns had beaten us twice that year. And the championship game was at White Bluff, William James High School at that time. And we beat Burns in the championship game by 36-31.
Wow.
I remember writing a paper about that in college. A really good, it was, when you enjoy telling stories, sometimes you can write stories, as you should know.
Yes.
But anyway, then it got to high school and just loved, I may be just completely off of what you want, but
No, you're perfect.
Got to high school and 9th grade, I couldn't wait, because Coach Self had already reached out to us as 8th graders, 7th and 8th graders, and brought us over, some of us over to practice with the high school kids. And we tried to run the drills that they did. I was in the mix with them, and I remember messing up so bad. And and actually, I remember E.G. Weems, I think, was a senior maybe that year, and no, not E.G. I can't remember. But anyway, I thought, okay, you pass it and you cut, and you pass it and you go behind, you go in front. Okay. Well, I'm sure I made a lot of mistakes, and I'm sure I made them mad. I don't think we ever had to run for my mistakes. But anyway, just loved it. Coach Milton Self was my coach. I loved him better than anything, but I was scared to death of him, And I always wanted to be good. I remember an article in the paper when I think I was a sophomore, and I was just considered the other forward. And I thought, I don't really like that title. So I made my mind up. And I'm sure you've heard of Sally Smith that played at Waverly. And I thought, you know what? I'm fixing to be good. Because I thought, well, I'm not even good. I'm fixing to be okay. So learned to shoot a jump shot. And I know Mr. Blackwell from Centerville, we played against his daughter, and she was awesome. She was probably about 6 foot and could shoot everywhere. And we beat them my junior year. And I can remember him coming back when I started coaching and saying, Kelly, if they'd had that three-point shot when you played, said, y'all would have killed us. And I said, well, times change and make the game better. So, but anyway, I grew up around Dickson, lived here all my life, never left. I wanted to give back to my community what they had given to me. And I just loved it. Loved basketball.
I'm glad you brought up the Dickson Bees, because my good friend Tony England, who
Oh, yeah.
is probably listening this morning.
Right.
Good old Tony. He's been here and he's been on the show, and I just love Tony. And we have some great historical conversations. And he had mentioned a few days ago on Facebook, he said, make sure you ask Eve about the Dixon Bees.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I think people have some good memories of that.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and other people like me, we don't really remember the Dixon Bees.
Right.
But it's cool. Do you remember what colors you wore?
Blue.
Really?
Yeah, not a navy blue, but it was kind of it wasn't a Waverly blue. It was kind of I don't know, maybe a royal blue and red and white. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's very
it was fun. I love Coach Law. He was just laid back, had a cigar in his mouth all the time. And, really, as I got older, I realized I don't think he really knew what he was doing. I think Coach Self helped him a lot. But I just loved him. He loved us and we loved him, and just play. And the reason I say that, I know Coach Self came to a lot of our games. And as I found out later, and Coach Self and I got really close when I got the high school job. I was always scared of him, even in my adult years. And he told me, he said, yeah, I was at your games, and said, I'd pull Larry Law out at halftime. I'd pull him away from get him by the shoulder and pull him. Now, do this. And it seemed to work. So pretty good.
Well, we are live this morning in the studio with Coach Eve Hamilton, and she's been telling us all about the early days, the Dickson Bees. How cool is that? We're going to go ahead and take our first break, and we'll be right back here with Coach Eve Hamilton on the Old Timer Show.
Let's talk about your internet options in this area: cable internet, cell phone internet, and the phone company. Does that cover it? And not everybody has all three options. So if you're looking to make a change, try RFC Broadband, a local business right here in Dickson, offering the speeds you need at prices you can afford with no data caps. 615-375-8662 or rfcbroadband.com.
Let's face it, life looks a little different. During these times, we're doing our best to keep our minds and bodies strong. And getting a flu shot helps us stay healthy, so we don't miss out on what matters. Like having game night at home. Yeah, can't do that while sick with the flu. Now imagine family movie night that your daughter can't live without. Well, that's ruined. And don't forget your uncle's socially distanced cookout. See, that's why it's important to be at our strongest. Every year, millions of people in the U.S. get the flu. Especially now, no one has time to miss out on moments that matter. So get your flu shot. Find out more at getmyflushot.org. Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
In times of joy, in moments of grief, broadcasters come through, even when all else fails. Today, with more ways than ever to experience the moments that transform our lives, Americans still choose broadcast radio and television more than all other media combined. We are the local broadcasters of radio and television, reaching more people, touching more lives. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
And we're back here on the Old Timers program. We're live here on Saturday, March 19th. And don't forget, there's some great things going on in downtown Dickson today. Big St. Patrick's Day celebration, all on Main Street. South Main has got a bunch of good stuff. North Main's got some good stuff. So make sure you come on out this morning and check out all the good things happening in downtown Dickson. We are live this morning. We've got Coach Eve Hamilton here with us, and she's been just talking about her early life and the Dickson Bees. Hopefully, Mr. England is listening this morning. I made sure to ask her about the Dickson Bees, Tony, and kind of talked a little bit then about playing some high school basketball. I want you to tell me just a little bit about what happened after high school.
Okay. When I played my last high school game, it was against Centerville, and we lost, and it's a feeling that you don't ever forget. You know, I never wanted it to end. I loved it so much. And so I thought, well, you know, I'll take this chance. I'm going to Austin Peay. Well, another story that was involved, I had a full ride to Belmont, and I really didn't know that. I got a letter from the coach, and no contact, though, back then. All the contact I had was through Coach Self. And I got a letter from the coach, and I got a letter from the dean of school or whatever. But I didn't know I had a full ride. Well, I guess I was in love. Henry was at Austin Peay, and I thought, well, that's where I'm going. I'm going where he's going. I'm going to go to Austin Peay. And it wasn't until about 15 years later when I started teaching with a girl that had played for Coach Wiseman at Belmont. Told me, he said, Eve, I showed her my scrapbook. And he said, Eve, you had a full ride. I said, it doesn't say that. And I said, Coach Self never told me that. My parents couldn't afford to send me to Belmont. And so, you know, water under the bridge. But anyway, wound up at Austin Peay, and I'd contacted the coach. Didn't really even know her name. It was Lynn Dunn, but I didn't know. So I wrote a letter. And we didn't have cell phones back then to text or call, and I was scared to call, but wrote her a letter and told her I was very interested in playing basketball, So I never heard from her. And then when we registered and got involved in school, I don't know, I can't remember if she found me or they just posted a tryout, and I think that's probably how that came about, because I really didn't know her, and I didn't search for her. But, when I played, we played six girls on the court, 3-on-3, and this was five girls, 5 men basketball. And I thought, wow, I'm not sure if I can do this. And I thought, oh, I can do this. So I went on, and there were kids from, everywhere, Springfield, some of the kids that we had played against, but some of the older, from Waverly even. And so I tried out, and of course, and I made it. And I played in one collegiate game, and it was Austin Peay versus MTSU. And at that game, there were 5 spectators there. It was my mom, my dad, Henry, and my brother and his wife. That was, and Coach Fisher was the AD at MTSU, was at MTSU. And I didn't start. It was like 2 minutes into the game, and then she put me in. I played the rest of the game. And I thought, what is she thinking? I thought, I need to be, to myself, I thought, I really need to be out there, But I don't even remember if we won or lost. But at that point, when we got back home, I thought, you know what? I've gone from playing at Dickson High School, where they're hanging out of the balcony and the gym's packed. There's nothing else. Always, you look at my scrapbook and see people everywhere, to 5 people. Really? What is this? College basketball. And we had a T-shirt. We wore a T-shirt. We didn't even have a real uniform. A T-shirt. Number 24 was my collegiate number. But anyway, I made my mind up right then. I said, I love the game, and I have to realize that there comes a point where you can't play all the time, but maybe I could coach one day. So that was my turning point on, okay, I am going to coach, because I want to give the love I have for the game to my players. The end.
Well, tell me, so grow up playing basketball, loving basketball, and you get to play a little bit in college, just enough, and you decide I want to go into coaching. How did you get to Dickson County, or back to Dickson County, I should say?
Back in the day, Dickson County took care of their kids. I graduated high school in 1971 in May. I started teaching in December of 1974 at William James Junior High. And when I got there, David Peeler was the principal, and he was Alton Williams was the head coach, and I think Mr. Peeler was helping him. And then it wound up that Mr. Peeler wound up with the head job, and he asked me, would you be my assistant? And I feel like, if you come through a school system and they know you've done a good job, you're a good student, you work hard, then why would you not want them to coach or come back and teach? Yeah. I don't understand that sometimes. But anyway, that's where I started at William James Middle. I was there from 1974 to 1990, and I was an assistant coach until I think it was 80 or 81, and then I took over for Mr. Peeler. And I'll never forget, one year we were in the championship, well, not one year, several years, but one of the years we were in the championship district game. William James had a total of 206 students at that time for 3 grades. And the Henry County radio people wanted to interview me, and I thought, oh, whoa, what is this? But we had just beat their girls team. And our little White Bluff team beat a powerhouse Henry County team. And I just, that was something that I will never forget, in my whole life. But you just want to share what you were given, and hopefully, that you can spread the love for the game. And for 41 years, I hope I did that.
I think you did. It's been, a lot of people have been sending me messages. They're real excited about you being on the show today because they have good memories of you. And I think as a coach, at least I'll speak for myself here, but I think this probably for most coaches, we want the players to have a good time, learn some lessons, and hopefully, you do a good enough job where they remember you in a good light. But I think that's definitely the case for you.
Oh, well, I hope so. I know I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2019. And you would not believe my players that reached out to me and said, Coach, all right, now we're going to tell you just like you told us. Now you remember this speech. And of course, I probably said it every year. If you're playing, you get behind. Are you just going to quit and fold and not even try? What decisions are you going to make? What if you're diagnosed with cancer? Are you going to just quit, give up? And I think really that was a turning point too. They got me through that, and all the prayers. Dickson County was just unbelievable. But that sets out, I did make a imprint there. I remember, I just thought, wow, that's awesome that they would remember what I even said, because it seems like today's kids, I can, sometimes I just wonder, shoot, goes right over their head, and I don't know. I was just really touched by that situation.
Well, see, I remember you from when my days in high school. I went to Dickson County High School, of course, and I remember you being a coach there and seeing you, at the games and going to the games and just having a good time, watching you, do your thing out there on the court. And then now I'm lucky enough to be a teacher over at the Dickson County High School, and so I know what it's kind of like now. And I know it was like when I was a student. What was it like? What was the high school like back when you first got there, first started coaching there? That was 1994. 94, 95 was my first season. And Coach Kilt had been there before me. He was there 22 years. And when he resigned, I'll never forget, Chris Norman called me and said, Coach, there's an opening at the high school, girls head basketball coach. Are you interested? And I said, oh my goodness, I don't know, because I'd gone from William James, the smallest junior high in the county, to Dickson Junior High. I don't know if you knew I was there. I was there 4 years. The first year I remember, I think Coach Chandler said, Coach, you won't win a game this year. And I said, oh, yes, we will. You just wait and see. And I think we won 4. And I was so proud of that bunch. But then after that, I think every year we won the district. And I had a chance, Mr. Reed Evans told me, he said, let me tell you something. This is a stepping stone to the high school
if you're interested, one day. And I thought, gee, I don't know. So I was working with David Bradford, and I thought, and David, he said, let's sit down, let's do the pros and the cons. He said, let's think this out. He was trying to help me because I was a nervous wreck. At that time, Kelly was a sophomore and had played for Coach Kill that one year. And, I thought, well, I don't know if I can do high school. I'm not sure I can do that. And David said, basketball's basketball. It doesn't matter what age they are. You can teach it. You can develop a player. You'll be okay. So I thought, okay, well, I'll apply. Hugh Price was the principal. David Peeler was the director of schools. And I thought, well, Hugh Price doesn't know me. And I was thinking I'd never been interviewed for a coaching position. It was just always, okay, hey, you played in high school. You did great. You're the coach. And so I thought, oh, man, I don't know. And I remember I asked Henry, I said, Henry, what do you think they'll ask? And he said, well, they won't ask you your record. And I thought, okay, that's good because I don't know it right now, but I could, figure it up. So I go for the interview, and the first question Hugh Price asked me, of course, he was from Metro, and I'm sure it was an awakening for him to come to a rural county school. But anyway, he said, what was your record? And I go, excuse me? He said, what was your win-loss record? And I said, well, Mr. Price, I really don't know, but I said, I could sit here and figure it out if you really want me to. Well, I was just curious what your record was, and all this. And I thought, usually they ask, what's your philosophy? What are you going to do? And but I got the job. And of course, I think with Mr. Peeler being the director of schools, I really think he probably wanted me to take this position. So I did, and I was always grateful for him. He got me started as a lady colonel coach, with entrusting me with a teaching position, and then as the head coach of the Lady Cougars at the high school.
Well, we're here on the Old Timers program this morning talking to Coach Eve Hamilton, and I'm learning a whole lot of stuff. This is very interesting to me. I've always kind of wondered some of this stuff about you, so I appreciate you coming to the studio and answering all my questions this morning. Let's go ahead and take our last break, and unfortunately, we're going to run out of time here. I could talk to you for hours, but let's go ahead and take our last break, and we'll be right back here on WDKN.
Let's talk about your internet options in this area: cable internet, cell phone internet, and the phone company. Does that cover it? And not everybody has all three options. So if you're looking to make a change, try RFC Broadband, a local business right here in Dickson, offering the speeds you need at prices you can afford with no data caps. 615-375-8662 or rfcbroadband.com.
You want to feel connected, at one with your world, informed, included, and inspired. So no matter where you are,
We have an accident on the expressway.
when important things happen,
You see this man, contact authorities immediately.
we're here, at all hours, in the moment, on every device in your life. Your local radio and TV broadcasters. We investigate and inform,
Our political investigation saved taxpayers.
give back to the community,
Our radio station is now accepting donations to help rebuild this community.
even save
It's
lives.
time to just hunker down. It's too late now to leave.
America's #1 source for news, weather, and information on your radio, TV, computer, tablet, and smartphone. We are broadcasters. Always here for you, wherever here may be. Tell Washington local stations matter by texting radio to 52886. Furnished by NAB and the station. Message and data rates may apply.
And we're back here on the Old Timers program. We've only got a few more minutes. Unfortunately, I could talk to you for a long time, but we were talking during the break about Mr. Henry Hamilton, who was my U.S. history teacher, and means a lot to me, and I definitely want to have him on the show soon.
Good.
But you want to mention him real quick?
Yeah,
and your kids?
I married Henry in 1974 in March, and he was already teaching. He was teaching at White Bluff, and so I was still in school, and I didn't graduate till that December. So our song was, I can't remember the country music artist that sang it, but If We Make It Through December. And I remember when I got my first check, and he had a check, and I thought we were rich. I thought, wow. But anyway, I have three daughters. I'm just blessed. Kelly is the oldest. She's a high school teacher and assistant coach at the high school, and she was under us for 13 years. Kelsey is a teacher at Dickson Middle School, and she's also the girls' basketball coach over there. And our middle daughter is Carrie, and a lot of people, they don't remember Carrie, but Carrie was the quiet one, and she tried to play, and she tore ACL as an 8th grader, and she could stand, as long as you didn't guard her, she could stand there and shoot all day, but she just couldn't move. But she's a mail carrier, so she makes much more money than all of us teachers. But anyway, I have 6 grandchildren that I'm so proud of, and that's probably.
And those grandkids are becoming athletes. I
Well,
get a chance to check them out. I've seen a few pictures in the paper about them, and just on social media, I've seen some stuff about them. So they're carrying on the family tradition, I guess
hope
you
so.
could say.
Thank you.
So one more thing I want to ask you before you go, and this is something that me and Kelsey have talked about a little bit. We're good friends, and we both worked at the middle school together for several years, and a lot of times we get to talking about things. And I asked her one day about your coaching career and playing career, and she mentioned to me that, greatest women's basketball coach of all time, undisputed, it's Pat Summit, right?
Amen.
And you have a relationship with her. Could you talk about that for just a few minutes?
When I was a freshman, there were 2 freshmen that made the varsity team. That was me and Janet Springer, that runs Sisters, that owns Sisters. And we made the freshman team, the varsity team, and so we got to travel with them. We went to Cheatham County, and of course, we're green. It's just, Janet and me, and I got to play. Pat was a sophomore, and I got in that game, and I'll never forget. Of course, I didn't. She's just Pat Head. I didn't realize, she's gonna wind up being the GOAT.
Right.
But anyway, it was awesome, and we beat them. And then later on, as a coach, we had some players that she was really interested in. So we had a 6'5" kid, and that was the year we went to the state tournament and made it to the Final Four. And that was I can't think, Amanda Stringer. Yes. Was a 6'5" kid, but we had a lot of great athletes around her, and that's who Pat was interested in. So she followed us that year, and then the next year she followed us, and she followed us all the way to Henry County. We were in the district championship game, and so her and Holly flew into Paris, and Holly had thought she had rented a car, and so when their plane landed, they go inside, and Pat said, "Well, I'm Pat Summit. We're here to pick up our rental car." And the old guy sitting back, just reared back, and he said, "Well, ma'am, we don't have any rental cars around here." He said, "But you can take my car." And it was an old clunker. Of course, it didn't bother Pat. Shelby Gry grew up knowing them, and Shelby said, "That's just right down her alley." That didn't bother her at all. But they weren't sure where the gym was. Holly was driving. Pat's door wasn't open. The window wouldn't roll down. The window would roll down, but the door wasn't open. So when they stopped to get directions, Pat had to go out the window to get directions to Henry County High School. And she sat right there across from us, front row center. And I don't know who was more nervous, me or the kids. But we won that. We pulled that one out, and, talked to them all the time. They're just like you and me. They're no different. The only thing I say, they get to choose who their players are, and they make the big bucks.
That's just such a cool story to me. I just think that's just the coolest thing. Well, we only got like maybe another maybe a minute or two left. I just want to ask you about one more thing.
Okay.
So the gym over here in downtown Dickson,
Right.
over at the middle school, is Melton Self Gym.
Right.
That's named after an important coach to you,
It is.
and you had the opportunity to sort of be there when that gym was named after him. Tell me just real quickly a little bit about that.
Well, Coach Self was a legend in my book. He was an awesome girls coach. My junior year, he took us to the state tournament, and that was back when, it was all one big, there were no 4 winners or, classifications or anything. So I just thought he was great. We got really close the other years, but didn't. But my junior year, we made it to the state tournament. My daughter had the fortunate, Johnny Chandler was the principal, and he asked Kelsey, he said, "Kelsey, I want you to award this plaque to your mama's to Mama Eve." He'd call me Mama Eve's coach, and of course she was really excited to do that. So we absolutely we were there. I wouldn't have missed it for anything. But his family was there present, and it was just a great night. places ought to be named after people. Yeah. I think so. We go everywhere else, and it's always somebody's gym or somebody's field. Shelby Wright Field. Yeah. What an honor for Coach Wright, and he's still alive. Yeah. Do you have to die to get named? Right. But Coach Self, I was so proud, and he got to see it. I've heard his wife say, we just drove up there and sat and looked at the sign, and at night it's lit up. The Homer Hamdorf football field. Yep. Coach Hamdorf was another person, that I was very scared of, but he was a great person and a great educator. Yeah. But Coach Self, we had a bond after I finished. After I got the high school job, we became so close. And he's probably told me a lot of things that a lot of people don't know. I know he told me, he said, I'm gonna tell you who my best 5 players were. And I said, Coach, I would love to know who they were. Anyway, he told me, and it was just wonderful. I also told him, I said, Coach, you remember when you carried me and Mary Beth Hamdorf up to see Debbie? Debbie had knee surgery. Debbie Martin, and we rode in the back seat. And he goes, yeah. Why? I wondered why y'all rode in the back seat. And I said, Coach, I was scared you might just reach over there and slap me, for no reason. He said, oh, Eve, I loved y'all so much, I wouldn't have ever. I said, Coach, I know that, but at that time I didn't know that. We got a lot of great memories. A lot of girls played for Coach Self, and they could just tell you so much.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. Unfortunately, we're just about out of time. We got to get off here and let Mr. Dale Reagan come on in. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Just we want to say hi to any of your players listening on the way out here.
I know several of them. Well, some of them contacted Kelsey, and wanted to know what station and what time and everything. So, all you guys that are listening out there, I love y'all. You're wonderful. You made this old coach feel humbled.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. We'll go ahead and get out of here and let Mr. Dale Reagan have the show. I'll be back in 30 minutes with Know Your County. We're going to be talking today about the Robert Spicer Buck Dancing Championship. We'll be back in 30 minutes. Thank you for listening to WDKN.
In times of joy.
In sports, if it happens in Dickson, the power.